This video is about Halford Mackinder's Heartland theory of global military conquest. Sounds yummy, huh, boys and girls? Now, before long-range missiles and radar and aircraft and satellites, the British Royal Navy warships could sail undetected all over the globe and were thus safe as long as they stayed out of the range of enemy shore fortresses and their cannons. Of course, this was only the case if the Royal Navy could sink or intimidate the warships of the other naval powers, which they did, and the seven seas thus became a British pond. Rule Britannia. In fact, prior to World War II, almost all naval battles were fought within sight of land simply because ships could not find each other in the huge and trackless oceans. Prior to World War II, any sort of movement of heavy cannons on land was largely restricted to railroads, which did provide land powers with limited means to fortify forts adjacent to major ports, but this is about all. All these combined circumstances allowed the Brits to concentrate their ships and strike where she pleased and at a low cost, while the land powers had great trouble concentrating their forces, and it was more costly. The only restriction on the Brits was the still modest range of their cannons, only about 20 miles. Halford Mackinder, the remarkable British military strategist, noted that these circumstances meant that the lands most remote and thus safe from British conquest were those in the interior of the huge Eurasian landmass. Mackinder called this area the, quote, global heartland, unquote, because he wanted the Brits to conquer the entire planet, and this remote area represented what would be the last standing redoubt of the final scoundrels defying the British and Purple Gang conquest of the whole goddamn stinking planet. Okay, World War II and its aftermath saw the introduction of long-range missiles, airplanes, and radar and satellites. These developments completely flipped the relationship of the British land and sea powers, such as Russia. Now the oceans are like vast tabletops where ships found it impossible to hide unless they are submarines. They are all setting ducks. All surface ships are now setting ducks. Newer long-range missiles with pinpoint accuracy make surface ships easy to kill with only one hit. And these missiles can be cheaply moved by truck to almost anywhere on land and then concealed there. This leaves any naval power with the impossible task of trying to produce expensive ships faster than they can be sunk by cheap missiles. Good luck with that. Thus, in any conventional World War III, I expect the USA fleets to be sunk if they venture within 1,000 miles of the coast of either Russia or China. The USA will be stripped of its sunken aircraft carriers, and the USA will lose its global superpower bully boy status, and the USA will be reduced to bullying those pesky banana pickers down in the Caribbean. Serves them right, this stingy little brown bird. And please be aware that Mackinder did not pluck his Heartland theory out of thin air. He simply described in an abstract manner what the British Navy had been successfully doing for centuries, and it was obvious that he was 100% accurate and correct. Now, this begs the question, since the relationship of ocean and land has been 100% flipped and reversed by satellites and long-range missiles, does this therefore also mean that the NATO forces will be fighting uphill and against the clock in any conventional war? Well, that's how it looks to me. Inflation will skyrocket as devalued U.S. dollars rush like a tsunami back to the USA. Serious food bias will erupt, not the NWO-sponsored liquor store looting contest that currently supplies the video circuits of our ridiculous and dying empire, while the EBT cards supply the electronic bread. Thus, any conventional World War III will also kick off a horrid 3,000-mile-long dumpster fire of a civil war all across the USA. Okay, that's about it for this week. And one last reminder. Long live our elected county sheriffs, the last best hope of this crumbling empire.